A neighborhood cat was caught stealing puppies for a surprising reason. People who own both cats and dogs know even though the species are supposed to wage an eternal war against each other, sometimes Fido and Garfield do exist in harmony. Heck, they might even learn a thing or two from each other in the process. Well, a cat named Miss Kitty and a dog named Smoochie lived together in Seneca, South Carolina. One morning, the animal's owner caught Miss Kitty carrying one of Smoochie's puppies across the yard, but why? She had to find out. Miss Kitty wasn't your ordinary cat. Sure, she may have looked just like a regular neighborhood puss, but anyone who interacted with her knew just how much attention she commanded. And residents loved her. She lived in a mobile home community in Seneca, South Carolina. She was an outdoor animal, and the neighborhood offered her plenty of open space to roam. Her owners would let her out every morning, and Miss Kitty did her thing. Missy Grant, one of the feline's owners, was proud of the reputation her cat had around the neighborhood. However, she admitted Miss Kitty's demeanor changed after an unfortunate post-pregnancy incident. On April 17, 1993, Miss Kitty gave birth to a litter of kittens, which should have been a joyous occasion for everyone involved, especially the proud mother. However, every one of the kittens passed shortly after birth, leaving the mother shattered. To make matters even worse for Miss Kitty, the Grant couple also had a cocker spaniel named Smoochie who gave birth to a litter of puppies not long after Miss Kitty's litter passed away. Of course, the couple was grateful they didn't have to again deal with the death of their animal's young, but they knew Miss Kitty felt jealous. However, they also noticed something strange about Smoochie. The cocker spaniel seemed like she really had no interest in being a mother to her new pups at all. This clearly concerned the Grants, and they were even more alarmed when they caught Miss Kitty doing something bizarre one afternoon. Missy heard Miss Kitty rummaging around their yard one morning and went outside to make sure everything was okay. When she opened the door, she saw the cat running across the yard with one of Smoochie's puppies in her mouth. Not long after Miss Kitty was seen with the pup, Linda Blackwell, one of Missy's neighbors, told the cat's owner she was hearing animal sounds underneath her home. So Missy did some investigating. She figured if the cat carried away one puppy, she was likely to come back for another one. Sure enough, Miss Kitty did, and this time the owner followed her. Lo and behold, the cat went straight to Linda's mobile home. After Miss Kitty jumped up inside a tiny opening, Missy got onto her hands and knees and crawled under Linda's home. She found the opening Miss Kitty jumped up into, and she peeked inside. When Missy saw Miss Kitty nestled in the corner of a small crawlspace surrounded by several of Smoochie's children, her eyes shot wide open. She immediately went and pulled her husband in on the eye-opening action. Ryan Grant listened to the story Missy told him about catching Miss Kitty carrying one of Smoochie's pups across their yard. He followed his wife to Linda's home and took a look inside the crawlspace himself. Ryan, just like Missy, was stunned to see Miss Kitty acting like the small pups were her own litter. She was cleaning them and even letting them feed from her. This was especially rare to see. The couple thought maybe if Miss Kitty got her hands, paws, on kittens, even if they weren't her own, she would part ways with the pups. So the couple took to a local news station, asking if people had stray kittens to donate. A man who lived up the road from the mobile community was kind enough to offer up 2 kittens, and the Grants prayed it would work. However, Miss Kitty simply welcomed the cats into her puppy litter. When local veterinarian Dr. Andrew Holland heard the story, he couldn't believe the cat was actually replacing her missing litter with the Cocker Spaniel pups. However, he did supply Ryan and Missy with some important information about the new developments. He stressed the importance of the pups feeding from their actual mom, so he taught the Grants how to calmly help Smoochie lie on her back and coax the young dogs to her. Luckily, it worked. The puppies fed from their actual mother, but they were also drawn to Miss Kitty's nurturing habits. Smoochie and Miss Kitty both acted like parents to the young pups, and Ryan and Missy, although slightly confused, were happy it all worked out. Miss Kitty was able to fill the void of her lost litter with Smoochie's pups. It's amazing the dogs took to her instantly. However, this wasn't the first time cats and dogs seemed to switch species when it came to raising kids. After a friend of a friend discovered a tiny stray kitten clinging to a tree in an Austin, Texas neighborhood, Taryn and Jenna Choquette knew they had to help the little guy. What they couldn't have predicted, however, was what would happen when they brought him home. The kitten, whom they named Tuka, took to the couple and their comfortable home right away. He was the perfect fit, but they worried how he and their golden retriever, Brady, would get along. Cats and dogs, historically, don't see eye to eye, after all. From the moment the two were introduced, however, it was obvious there was a connection that Taryn and Jenna couldn't quite comprehend. Brady was extremely curious about the little kitten, while Tuka was quite anxious of his new dog friend. So as not to overwhelm the tiny kitten, Taryn and Jenna decided to keep him in a separate room for a period of time, though Brady would sleep outside Tuka's door anyway. Luckily, he began to warm up to his adoptive brother. Brady loves all creatures great and small, Taryn happily explained in an interview. He wants everyone and everything to be his best friend. That was good news for Tuka, who certainly needed help coming out of his shell. Brady sure sounded like the right pooch for the job. Not long after they were allowed to interact further, the two became almost inseparable. What had started with some trepidation on Tuka's part had evolved into a full-blown love fest. He completely adored his big brother. Brady, meanwhile, had taken on a role as Tuka's foster mom, and he truly seemed to relish that position. He didn't even mind when little Tuka, who wasn't fully weaned when he was found, actually tried to suckle on Brady. From there, Brady just kept trying to teach the tiny kitten how to go about an average day. The only issue was that Brady only knew how to teach Tuka how to be a dog, and, hilariously, that's exactly what happened. Brady would also show Tuka how to drink water from his own bowl, Taryn pointed out. And to this day, Tuka will still not drink out of a tiny cat bowl, he only drinks out of Brady's giant water bowl. We're sure actually standing in the bowl was Tuka's own improvisation, however. As Tuka grew older and matured physically, he lost the gray spot on his head, but not his love for his big brother. Brady was careful to teach Tuka how to chew on the grass in their backyard, and how to put on the cute puppy dog eyes when begging for food. Tuka picked up on these lessons with ease. Truly, he was an excellent protege. We always joke that Tuka is more like Brady, more of a dog than a cat, Taryn explained. So we just call them the dogs. Cat or dog, Tuka sure learned how to beg for leftover food from his humans pretty quickly, huh? The two were also huge fans of playing, especially of the roughhousing variety. When they got going, they sure looked like a pair of dogs. It was easy to see why Tuka grew up with an adorable sense of mistaken identity. Every morning when I get ready for work, they chase each other around the house, Taryn said. Tuka likes to launch off to wall to get a head start, and Brady is kind of giant and cumbersome, and he'll chase him around. And they'll jump on the bed and wrestle forever. They'll always do it late at night when I'm trying to sleep, or wake me up in the morning. Word is, they even enjoy teaming up for some mischief. Their favorite games so far involved having Tuka knock food and other snacks off of the counter so Brady could mop it up below. They're in cahoots, Taryn joked. Tuka was such a big fan of Brady that whenever the neighbor's dog, Wyatt, came over to play with them, the kitten would try to scare him off. He just did not like the idea of sharing his best buddy's attention with anyone else. Tuka is very protective of Brady, Taryn went on to explain. He growls like a dog, and he actually sounds like a dog, it's so funny. It certainly sounded like someone got straight A's in their How to Dog 101 class, huh? The cutest thing was if Brady ever had to leave for any period of time. When that happened, Tuka was known to mope about the house. Once his doggy pal came home, however, he was sure to never leave his friend's side, ever. Whenever we come back, Brady lies down and Tuka sniffs all around, like, "Tell me where you've been. Tell me all the things that you've done," said Taryn. That sounded exactly like what a dog would do for any human. I think he thinks he's just like Brady, Taryn ultimately concluded. He's actually never met another cat, so I think he assumes he's a dog, just like Brady's brother. Since he was adopted, it made a lot of sense why Tuka would behave that way. These two made for a perfect doggy duo for sure.